My mind is absolutely on fire every single day, all the time. I'm thinking about all these things. I see something and then another idea explodes, and that's because I've been a student of so many different things in life, so everything is innovative. My name is Olin Kealoha Lagon, and I'm a serial social entrepreneur. My approach to innovation really is guided by values. I know I can solve a lot of problems that I have no interest in solving because it's not guided by something that's important to me. So I think what's important to me is I saw what it was like to live in a very impoverished state, and so my innovations have to, in some ways, address that. I mean, my first thought is grateful. It's like, if not this, we would have been on the streets, or we would have been on the beach. KPT is the largest public housing in Hawaii, and I guess the best way I can describe that was you're living in the poorest community amongst some of the wealthiest people. And so there's this huge gap. And so that gap was really hard to deal with emotionally because it gave me messages each day that made me struggle for being confident in being who I was. I didn't really have a father figure growing up, so it was my mom and 3 sisters. And so in some ways, I still have that void in my life. So I've had father figures in terms of people I've worked with, community leaders, or just friends who have supported me, but just in terms of like my childhood, I wasn't that lucky to have that. Sorry, yeah, this is just very jarring to see my mom's eyes here. But Kauai Park Terrace is where we had a class at Purple Maya, so we taught game design, so some of the kids that live in this community, they wanted to do more, so we talked with them, what do you guys want to do? And so they talked about creating a mural. We had a movie night with the kids in the community so that we can ideate, like, what do you want? What do you want to put on the walls? So they came up with these themes. They wanted hopulea, which we have over there, some of our birds, and they said one of the kupuna, they wanted a kupuna on the wall, and I didn't know they were going to choose my mom, so I remember coming here doing the painting day, and it was taking shape, and it started to look a little bit like my mom, and it freaked me out a little bit. Yeah, my mom was incredibly influential in doing and not saying. So she wasn't a woman of many words, but for example, every weekend we were out there volunteering in the community. Like, we were poor, but we were out there helping others. She was taking me to cut grass at churches and things like that. And so I learned from her the importance of giving. I hated it then, but it's how I live my life now. All right, Seiichi, take it away. What we got today?
So a couple main things.
About half of my life I dedicate to the community, and the other half to social ventures. And so my current venture is Shifted Energy, which is a venture that's solving for supporting clean energy opportunities in underserved communities.
So I'm gonna get more clarity on
Hawaii was the first state in the union to mandate into law 100% clean energy. Yeah, I saw you had was it the forecast, the wind forecast or solar forecast instead?
Yeah.
So I actually sat on the board for the state of Hawaii that made that historic decision. And my vantage point from being in that policy role was we were going to do this and leave communities behind. And so Shifted was really my response to that. Like, that is not okay. Like, how do we get everybody involved? And so it took me a couple of years of tooling around in my garage. I spoke to at least 1,000 families in my target group. Like, what do you do? Like, how is it that you use energy? What can we do to change that? And the only thing I could think of at that time, at the end of this 2-year journey, was I think I can muck with the water heater. So Shifted Energy got started by using the lonely water heater, electric water heater, as a means to participate in these clean energy programs. So to not get into the technical detail, we followed a bunch of patents around using a water heater like a battery. And we figured it out.
Hi, I'm Jen Ignacio. I'm an engineer with Shifted Energy here in Hawaii. I'm here in beautiful Waimanalo on the island of Oahu with our CTO and co-founder Olin. So we are currently installing a heat pump water heater in the Waimanalo Homestead community, where we're replacing a solar thermal water heating system that's at the end of its useful life. And the purpose of that is to provide energy savings, to provide some grid services data, and also run some experiments around the time of use bill rate structure and how that's going to impact homes like this here in Hawaii.
5 to 10 years, you'll be tens of thousands of these water heaters all around.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So collectively using way less energy. You know, we farm taro on the weekends. I wish everybody that visits Hawaii gets to taste it and actually volunteer in one of these farms we call lo'i. When the taro grows, there's no seed. And so for the last 800, 900 years, my ancestors have been replanting these plants. And if they stopped, they would be gone because there's no seed to store that you can plant later. But by doing it myself, I am seeing all this innovation that my ancestors figured out. Taro is one of those rare plants like rice that you can grow and it can be submerged. And so you see our last row, they're fully submerged. And this is just me thinking this through, but I think the innovation there was if it can grow and survive underwater, then you can flood the field and kill all the weeds and then drain the field and all that's left is taro. So I think that's an innovation where it took someone to observe that and then test, figure it out, see that it works, and then replicate that in scale. Hey bud, sorry we're late.
No worries.
How was your day? For me to see our boys flourish and thrive almost feels normal because I kind of expect that. But I also know that their lives have not been full of the same kinds of difficulty that mine have. Like, their lives aren't easy, but they're not the same. My kids are equipped to take on whatever challenge that is theirs. I don't know if my kids will end up in Hawaii, and that scares me because this is my homeland, and I want, we have grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents. I mean, the list of our ancestors go back hundreds of years, and their bones are buried here and not elsewhere. Like, I really want their story to be along this chain, but that's what I want, right? And so what I'm hopeful is that our kids develop enough of a connection to our culture that they're better equipped to make that decision when it's relevant. And so that's the most I can hope.